Hello, everybody. It is Sandra Pelly, the Sandini, Inner Peace Mentor and Visionary of the Guide Academy. Too comical. I don't have my book handy. We're being sponsored by the book, A Spiritual How-To. It's available on most Amazons and elsewhere. And I am also a co-author of another book that has just come out, available in Amazon by Sacred Stories, called Guides. And I have a story in there as well as Marilyn Aloria and others who are very much in tune with their guides. I have a wonderful guest today. Very excited to be introducing her to you guys. She's part of my community in the Soulful Empowerment, but she also has her own beautiful community. And I've been watching her now for I'm thinking 4 or 5 years. I think I've known Gao. And I do have to say that I have some some comical moments in pronouncing her name, but let me give you a little bit more details about her. Gao Motsemme is an authentic self-embodiment, soul liberator, and quantum witch doctor, empowering heart-centered leaders to shed the mask and embody their authentic selves so that they can create their soul's deepest desires, living from passion, power, and sensuality without abandoning themselves or giving their power away. I absolutely love that. Let's try this again. My internet dropped.
I realized that, which is it's just one of the amazing things that we get to celebrate, right? When technology does what it does.
Yeah.
I've learned to just appreciate it when things are doing that way. I'm just like, okay. And for me, and actually it's just one of the greatest things that has to happen before we started. Because one of the things that I talk about, which is being authentic, this is why I talk about, like, I'm an authentic self-embodiment soul liberator. It's just that we have this illusion of perfection, and every time there is something that shows us there is no perfection or certainty, and for us to be able to thrive is if we just lean on the imperfection and find the beauty in that mess, or lean on in that uncertainty and just allow us to lead us into our next level of expansion or whatever that we desire. So this is just one of the things that when something like this happens, I'm just like, perfect. It's just like, yes. Yeah.
I absolutely love it too, because it gives me a really good idea about where I'm at on my own journey. How am I handling the situation?
Yeah.
And I love that I just flow with it. I do, I went onto my phone and came up on the internet on there instead, and just, took a step in a different direction. And that's what we're being asked to do when something drops into our path. That's what we're being asked to do. I have to tell you that, first of all, everybody, here's this beautiful soul. Like I was saying, I've known her for probably 4 or 5 years, been watching her. She's been watching me. She's in
Yeah.
her group. We've known each other from another place as well. And what I've been seeing is just so magical because of what you have done in your life over the last 4 or 5 years, like literally kind of coming out of this situation and really standing in your own power, but also too very conscious of where you've come from as well. And then too, what I'm seeing unfold now is really kind of magical. In fact, I've been watching Gao do this hula hoop stuff on her videos of late, and I'm fascinated by them. In fact, when I walked to the store a couple of kilometers away yesterday, I actually stopped and looked at the hula hoops because I'm going to get one, because I could just feel
Yes.
the magic of the hula hoop and that sexuality, that beautiful, letting the woman come out in me that was so embraced as a child. I want that woman to get your hair standing up on your arms. So this is why she's here, is because she is here to, first of all, I want to say something really quick. She has an incredible opportunity, an incredible, beautiful Shed the Mask coming up on Monday. Now, if you're watching this after the fact, do know that she has all kinds of things happening all the time. So even if this challenge isn't available, tap into what she's got, because there are definitely other things to explore with Gail. So
Actually,
tell
what I
me.
can just add on to that is that this challenge is gonna be a monthly thing. So every month there's gonna be I'm gonna be running the Shed the Mask challenge for those who will be called to it, or some people, because at times we can do something once and twice we get something that we haven't gotten the first time around. Yeah.
Exactly. So before we talk about the Shed the Mask part, tell me about the hula hoop and what it means for you.
Actually, for me, it's quite interesting because I'm just gonna share a little bit about my childhood, because I started practicing this hula hoops when I was a child, and I'm gonna tell you, when I learned how to use it, I didn't even use a hula hoop. Guess what I used?
Rope, maybe?
A bike rim.
I love it. That's so me.
That's what I could get at that time, and I used what I had, and it was painful because every time, you can imagine the rim going around your waist and all that, so it was painful. But it's something that it something just clicked on me when I saw that, because as a child, that there, I believe we all have that sensuality within us, and then there are people who is kind of like, it's something that is they're born with, and I'm one of those people who's kind of like, I was just like out there. And being an African, as a child, I was always there's been so many things, like she's gonna get pregnant before she even finishes school, even before I started dating, let alone not even have kissed a guy. Already there were name calling and all sorts of insinuations, assumptions and all that I'm dating or whatever. It was just my energy that was just bringing that up. So with the hula hoop, when I saw people doing it at school and there was this small club, I was interested in it, and because I didn't have a hula hoop from there, I went and looked for a rim for the bike, and I learned, and I became part of this small club at school. I think I was doing that for probably 10 years or something like that, and that finished there. But for me, it's something that always called me. So when I grew up and I could afford a hula hoop, that's one thing that I normally do with my children. It's kind of like we just play together and I use it because it brings in that energy, it connects me with my body, it brings in that sensuality. Because before I worked on myself, I had this fear of being judged or being called a bitch or whatever for be doing those things. So with a hula hoop, it's kind of like it's acceptable. There is no one who's gonna, yeah, it's kind of like it's just a beautiful thing that everyone embraced. So it was my go-to, where it's kind of like there's no name calling or whatever. It's just like a play that I'm doing. So that's how I got to embrace it. Yeah.
And I love that because of using the hula hoop, because of bringing the hula hoop back into your world, back into your life, and now introducing it on your reels and stuff. I've literally watched you go from starting out this hula hoop piece and then progressing to the point now where you have this downright sexy movement on these reels without the hula hoop. And that's what this Shed the Mask is all about, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's just giving myself that permission to say, I'm just gonna go with it and allow everyone to be or see where they are through me. And it's quite interesting with, like you're saying, I love that you observed the transition that happened. And I would say the transition that also happened like around the same time, the quantum witch doctor name.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's also one of the things that I was just like, okay, I was just like romancing it a little bit, but I didn't want to go there because of the whole conditioning. What would people say and all that? Until I don't know really what snapped, but I just felt like, you know what? I'm tired of hiding. And the moment I just, because even when the first time I wrote about it and just owned it, I felt amazing energy. And the whole thing about my sensuality, everything owned up to just say, this is who I am, the enchantress, the witch doctor, I'm all of it. And especially when we talk about us women, it's kind of like there is boxes where we've been put to say, you cannot be all of it. You know, there is a part of us that we all have that wild woman within us. We do,
We
right?
so totally do. Oh yeah.
And
And I go ahead.
and most of the time we don't show up as all of us. We show up, we show the people the face that is accepted, that it's okay, you know. We don't really show up as all of us, our personality and all that. There's a part that we leave out where it's kind of like, maybe with certain people, I believe that's just how it is, where it's kind of like, even with certain people, you might have friends and you show up differently, or even with family members, you know, or the face that the family knows is different from what they know at work. We're not fully owning and embody who we are, you know, which is it doesn't work for us, especially with us women,
Yeah.
because that sensuality is that creativity energy, is that energy that makes us say yes to life.
I love this conversation, and I think it's super important because part of my path, part of my walking into realities, part of my very intricate shaman self, it's very, very important how we step into the energy of who we are and that name that we have for ourselves. And I know I use Sandra Pelli the Sandini. However, it actually has been given to me by my guides, by this beautiful support team, this energetic support team, that I'm actually Sandra Pelli the Great
Yeah,
Sandini. And now, you know, there's so much, and I totally get this because of the quantum witch doctor. Like personally, I absolutely love that name
yeah,
because it has this mystery to it. I don't step
yeah,
into the energy of of I don't even know what I want to say with that. So I'm not going to put things into people's minds. What I'm going to do is leave that wide open to you because I know you. I know how you are stepping into being of service for the greater good. So that beautiful quantum witch doctor, just what I envision with that is this powerful woman reaching into all the power and the energy of every beautiful soul out there and bringing that beautiful energy to the surface so that they can shine the way they're most supposed to be shining. Blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean, right? So
yeah.
when I step into the name, I just feel a real powerful energy with that. And it's so beautiful because there's a blue jay sitting outside my window, and that's all about unveiling the mask, believe it or not.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Just confirming to whatever. Because I mean, just to add on to what you said, when I started, like, you know, where we met about connecting with our guys and all that, angels, that was like I was in with it, because a part of me being a healer is something that I've always known when I was just growing up, but I didn't want to do it because um for me it was like being a traditional doctor in the old traditional way, where kind of like just everything how we perceive traditional doctors, right? And the whole religion that came on the way, and it was like it was contradicting our traditional, because a witch doctor, when I compare to what is known in the in for instance in America and all that, it's more like a shaman, you know, which
Yep.
is a traditional doctor in Africa. So growing up, it was kind of like you have to go to church because otherwise you're going to end up being a traditional healer. It was my calling, I've known it. And then wherever I go, I was just told that, oh, there is this calling, you just need to do this. I was like, no, I'm not gonna do it. But I went to church. I did not, my soul did not resonate with all of that. So I was just like, okay, fine, I'll see where this is gonna lead me. So moving to Germany, I believe it was just a part of the whole thing. It was a bridge to where I meant to be and know about myself. Because when I came across this connecting with angels, guides, I was excited, but I was more excited about connecting with angels. And a part of me was not more into my ancestors because I was afraid of being a traditional doctor. And as I was excited, I'm like, I don't know what my gifts are because I don't know. I'm not connecting with my. And then at some point, was like, just go back to your roots. You know what your gifts are, but you are disconnecting to your gifts by trying to reach out to your angels and all that. Who are you without the rules, and who are you, like the whole, like I always say about the separation thing, to say this is better, that is not, so it was kind of like, go back to your roots. And I was like, oh shit, there I go again. And but I went back to just make an altar for my ancestors, and just started calling them. Even when I was asking my sister, I'll call my sister and ask about like traditional doctors in my lineages and all that, because both my mom and my dad, so, and she was like, oh my god, do you really know what you're getting yourself into? But I was more empowered in the sense that my mom and my dad, so, and she was like, oh my god, do you really know what you're getting yourself into?
That's
But
on
I
your
was
end.
more empowered in the sense. Why is it repeating?
You must have two devices open, maybe.
Oh, okay. I guess when you went quiet, I checked on Facebook, so I somehow pressed something in there. Sorry for that. Yeah. So there was just this fear from my family because there are more hi Sue.
I just want to read this first of all. I see Gao as a shimmering light being in human form, made up of lights ever changing in the rainbow colors with flashes of light within. She carries a basket of light orbs and she bestows upon anyone she comes in contact with. So
Wow.
beautiful. Yes.
Thank you. Wow. I'm even getting chills as as you just read
Yeah.
this. This is
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah. So
You said
that's
something
just so
really,
beautiful.
yeah, you said something really important there. You know what your gifts are. I think that's probably one of the biggest struggles that people who are stepping on a spiritual path have, is they think they need to figure out what their gifts are. Like, what is my gift? How can I help? What is my gift? What is my gift? And intrinsically, it's already in you. You don't need to look for it. You just have to allow it to emerge and come out of yourself. And what I love about this Shed the Mask is that when you unveil yourself, those parts of yourself start to come to the surface in a
Yeah.
more brilliant way. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about that transformation.
About shedding the mask.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Because like I said, I had to go back to my roots and start connecting with my ancestors and all that. But at that time, because even when we met in the other group, I was going through the whole situation with my children, where I was not with my children, and I was just holding into the whole story of motherhood. As a mother, an African woman, it's kind of like, without your children, you are nothing. That's also an attachment to labels and titles, because it doesn't mean a title is not like a big one, like a CEO, business owner, and all that. It can be a mother, a sister, a husband, married, single, abused, maybe even a diagnosis and all that, where it's kind of like it's a little bit of your life, but you kind of like identify with it. I remember I was writing something the other time and I said, as a divorcee, and I'm saying, I'm not resonating with that. It's just a little bit part of my life. I wouldn't say I'm a divorcee. No, there is so many things that I experienced that are not who I am. So for me, that's the whole issue with the children. And while I was still fighting with the court, hiring lawyers and lawyers and lawyers. And the time after my daughter was beaten by dogs, I was like, I'm gonna go out in again for the ninth lawyer. And my team just said, no, you're not gonna win this.
Mm,
And I was
yeah.
like, what the F? Are you kidding me? Especially when they brought the forgiveness part. I was like, this is a joke. This
Wow.
is a joke. Yeah. But the question was, do you want your children? Of course, I want them. Then forgive. I'm like, I don't even know how to forgive, which is, you know what I say? I don't know how to forgive while I am in so much pain. And that was just the authentic me being honest to say I'm hurting so much that when you talk about forgiveness, I feel like you're just stabbing a knife in my heart or whatever. And the question was, are you willing? And I said, yeah, I'm willing.
Wow. Wow, that brings up so much emotion. Holy cow, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, fine. We do the work together. But how would I know if I have forgiven? Because forgiving is not a mental thing. Where it's kind of like most of the time when someone tells you something happened, it's like, oh, you need to forgive. It's kind of, oh, I've forgiven them already. Just from there, when you just come in like, I forgive.
Glib.
Just wait for us to say, okay, because if things have not shifted, then forgiveness is not complete. Because what I was just told is that when you have done the work, their hearts will change. Everyone who's involved in this case, just do the work. When it's done, the heart will change. You'll have your children. I'm living with my children in Germany. There is no lawyer involved. There is no court case involved. Things just worked out the way they worked out. And it was not even me not I was not even putting anything to say, okay, I've forgiven now, are they gonna come? I just let go. And what broke me was the moment when I knelt down and prayed for my ex-boyfriend
Mm.
because he was going through a tough time. And I called his ancestors and I just asked them to support him so that he doesn't even take his life or whatever. And that was before my kids even came to me. But I knew he's a big part of my children's life. They need him. And I was like, who is this? Because I didn't even recognize myself, and where I could and how I could help, I did it without needing him to sort of praise me or to be nice to me or to apologize to me. It was just like I said, we are moving beyond righteousness to soul recognition, to say, I see the soul in you, I see the light in you, even if you might not embrace it, even if I went through this, I see you and I love who you are in truth. And also just that thank you to say, because I feel like with this, it brought me to myself, So the part that I want to get to is that because I don't know what happened first, but there was a time when I was writing where I had this thing to say, I want to share something on Facebook. And I had this nudge to write. I took a paper and started writing. I think it was before I got to this whole transformational thing that just happened on its own. And the question was, who are you? I started writing, who are you? And I was like, oh, this is exciting. Without your titles. And I was just writing all those things without your money, without your religion, without your parents. It was so beautiful. And I was like, yeah, they're going to love this. Who are they? And then without your children.
Wow.
That hit home. I was like, what? And who am I? That's when I realized that I don't know who I am. I'm just attached to all those things. And I realized this message is not just for others, it's for me and those who I might share with, like I'm sharing right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I had a big realization this year, and I've been evolving, which I think is pretty apparent. Um, but it's that realization that, okay, I've been this, and I'm so ready to be this. How do I get from point A to point B? And really starting to dig deeper. Like I've done a lot of inner reflection on how I see myself this year. That's why this interests me so much, is because it's taking bringing my divine feminine out. I have been living so much in the path of the divine masculine energy, really making those steps, that grind.
Yeah, pushing through.
Yeah. And I'm really ready to embrace the divine feminine within myself. And I think, like I could actually burst out into tears right now over this, because I have been such a tomboy my entire life. I mean, I love mountain biking. I love climbing trees. I love climbing mountains. I love being the driver of the truck. I worked for the railroad as a brakeman and conductor, like male industry type of things, right?
Yeah.
Just and I really realized that this is an incredible opportunity for me to step into embracing the divine feminine of myself finally. And what is that going to look like? What is that going to look like for me? Right?
I love
And the
that.
people I work with. Like, holy cow, if I embrace this, you know, when we do that inner work for ourselves, the ripple effect that it causes, just like you said, you know, when you reached out to your partner at the time or ex-partner at the time to his ancestors, and you literally just kind of shifted the whole energy of everything, and now you have your children with you.
Yeah.
This is the magic that happens when we step into working on ourselves.
Yeah. And I love what Sue said. Can you just post that? Because it's just
Yeah,
like what she said. It is being in the place of being willing that the miracles happen without even making them look like whatever that we have imagined. And this is also one of the things that comes through a lot. And I guess because of the background of religion and even being an African, like I said, for me, when you spoke, when the whole thing about ancestors came in, it was like, am I gonna go to heaven when I do this work? Do I even have my own choice here, or they're just gonna push me to do whatever that I need to do and all that, you know? Which is even like the whole situation when I was going through, where for me it felt like this is a joke, you know, because like I was with my children as a single parent. The father was not really contributing in any way, you know. So I just knew that there are facts and everything is just as it is and nothing is gonna stop anything, and things work the way they work despite the facts that I knew, you know.
yeah,
So even when we say, oh, God is just so supportive of me, because most of the time we do that when things are glory, but yet God is present at all times. It's just that we have defined when and how God shows up in our life, you know, instead of knowing that even in the middle of the divorce, like for instance, I was going through a divorce that was messy, but I was aware of the presence of God, especially I saw that I was given the divorce papers in my dream. And when my ex-husband brought the papers, because we were in separation, um, he came to the other side of the bed where I was lying and he gave me the papers and I held them and said divorce. And he broke down and cried. I was just seeing him in my dream. And I lifted my hand to sort of comfort him. And he just pushed me away. He turned and he left. And the message that just dawned on me at that time is like, it's not like it's something that he wants to do, but it's something that has to happen. You understand? So
I do.
it's human is like heartbreaking and whatever, but I could also witness my soul dancing, because as much as we had our time when we met and our vibrational frequency was at the same level, the marriage was not gonna allow me to expand into what my soul knew it has to express in this lifetime. So this is why even when the divorce was messy, but I could hold into what I've seen, how heartbroken he is, and also understand that as much as there's a lot of things that we might not be aware of, or that he might not be aware of. 'Cause for him, it's like
Yeah,
God is just a fantasy, you know. So I could hold him into that space of love, and actually, I feel like the divorce for me was just like the message was just like love is never absent. We love each other no matter what. Our relationship just evolve into something else, but love is always present. And the divorce helped me to also heal the breakups and all the heartbreaks that I had in the past, because I realized that actually the easier thing to do to not feel the love is to build a wall so that I
yeah,
can move on, while actually I'm not moving on. I'm just closing my heart to the love that is always present and that just wants to embrace me so that I can also be able to share it out. And it was an eye opener and a heart opener at the same time, because I would say I have grown way too much in that painful divorce process and still holding everything in love. I don't know.
exactly.
Somehow, there's a lot that I said, but I don't even know where we were and where we're going. That's
Well,
like a whole.
I really love what you said. I'm going to dial it back for a minute here because Sue wrote something that's going to help me to lead into something else here. So Sue wrote, Sandra, in the strength of your masculine side, I see the divine feminine of your spirit, embracing that wonderful male aspects of you. She's been holding the male side all of this time. You and I had a conversation, I believe it was just yesterday or 2 days ago, and it was the offering that you have when people sign up to join in that Shed the Mask challenge. They have an opportunity to have a quick call with you, and in that call, you brought up this really beautiful aspect, which is something I wholeheartedly agree with. And I'm unsure that I spread that message very loudly, but I know that you brought it through very clearly for me. And in essence, it was, okay, I'm Sandra Pelli the Sandini, visionary of the Guide Academy and inner peace mentor. And, I'm working with my guides here and my guides there. And you said, well, what if it was all you? So explain that, because you were just starting to with this beautiful God part of it as well, how I brought God into it, but taking that to the next level, what does that mean?
It's actually, I mean, the way you just brought it's perfect, because even with everyone that we come across and everything that I ever had, because I feel like this is the most expansive, beautiful, romantic, orgasmic, pleasurable way of really getting to embody our power and know that we are really the divine in creation in every moment. Because if you, like, we know that everyone, whatever, let me just say, everything that is in our creation, that is just fully embodying our power, taking full responsibility, fully embodying the God that we are. If you show up as God at all the times and knowing that everything that is in my creation, it's just me who is creating it. I am not even co-creating. I am like really fully embodying it. So if someone is showing up the way they're showing up, you see that aspect of yourself that you might have coded yourself with, whether it's in your ancestors or when you were interacting whoever that you came across with. Because what I got from one of my journeys is just that it's a soul marriage, like with everyone. Let's just say we have the soul marriage with everyone that we come across, because we have this whole marriage that we have defined the way we have defined. It's kind of like I just get to love someone that I'm married with, and or that I'm in a relationship with, or my family and all that. We don't get to open our heart to love everyone. If we have the soul marriage and we open our heart to love everyone, and everyone is as pushed out, which is as within so without, right? If we see this God within, that is within, that we are pushing out, so whatever that we get to receive, we just get to understand that's just me, that is just an aspect of myself that I'm seeing. So instead of judging it or humiliating whatever that is just coming through, what if you just open your heart and emanate that love that is within you to that aspect, or even ask it, like, what is it that you need in this moment? Probably self-appreciation. So it's kind of like just getting to know that all that you see outside, it's just that you might have wherever, whether it's past life, whatever, however that you perceive life. And when you take this responsibility, you just know that as a creator, as we know that everything exists right now, simultaneously. It's kind of like when you just align with that energy, knowing that as a creator, fully embodying it, you just get to love, to command. And one other thing that I always love and say, which is just true, is that at times, even when you can feel, whether it's anger or whatever that is there, when you emanate that love to it and just say, I hear you, you know, I hear you, and I just love you, and it's okay for you to be you. And also, look at what is also here, because as much as this tiny aspect is feeling how it's feeling, there is just this love that is just beautiful. There is just this joy that is expansive. There is just this opportunity and potential that is showing itself in that moment. So you are not pushing it to say transform and be that. You're just inviting it to say, you're just beautiful. I love you, and there is also this. And if you want to play, you can just choose to be here, but you listen to it, you see it, because we have been trained and conditioned to push this aspect, or we have been pushed away, that some of this aspect we sort of shame them. Like I say, there is this sexuality that for me, it was just like that expansive juiciness energy that is even part of my purpose. But it was a shameful thing, where it's kind of like you're gonna get pregnant. Like, how do I even get pregnant if I haven't even kissed a guy or some shit like that? So so I also had a problem with embracing this aspect of myself. For instance, even looking at people in the eyes is something that I was not taught. I just love doing it. I just love watching people, like looking at people in the eyes. I don't know what I'm doing when I'm doing that, but I've had even women being angry or judgmental as if I'm seducing their men. But it's just, which is, we don't do that. Even at times we find that people are couples, but they don't often look at each other's eyes and allow that energy to just come through. And because for us, it's kind of like, even when you talk about flirting doesn't mean go sleep with someone. It's just an invitation to joy. That's how I just perceive it. It's just like an invitation to joy, that there is this joy. I do it here. It's quite funny, but I kind of love it because at times I can meet maybe a homeless person or just an old man, but when I get to look them in the eyes, however that they interpret it, it doesn't get to me. But one thing that I know is that there is something that I left them feeling, whether it's like, oh, she's attracted to me, or like kind of I'm seen, I'm visible. There is just like that which comes through, and I know what I'm doing is just like giving them that joy, showing them that I see them, that are worthy to be looked at, and I'm not attaching anything to it. So we have this, we are not actually inviting that pleasurable ecstatic energy in our life, because it's something that has to happen somewhere in a corner. It's not something that we get to embody, even when I'm speaking and right now. Because one of the things is that, like, if you look at my videos, when I do this work, I feel this turned on. Like, seriously, I feel this turned on, and I feel this in between my legs, in my womb space, and this is just the energy that just comes without even me calling it. It just comes, and it catches my attention, but at the same time, it doesn't distract me. I just embrace it, and this is the joy that I get to share with people, the sweetness that I get to share with people. And we all have this. The question is, are we embracing it in our life? Or when that happens, it's kind of like, oh my god, am I feeling turned on? Am I horny or something? And we make it wrong, instead of just allowing it to come through and expand on it and just share from it. Like what is just happening. My body, even when it moves, is just moving because of this energy that is just coming through. Because the sexual energy is just the energy of creation that goes through the spine. It's the energy that makes us say yes to life. It's the energy that when we allow ourselves to be ourselves, whether we are dancing or whatever, it just comes through without even because we are just in the flow, right? Because even when you talk about flow is that moment when you are feeling the best, and so that's just the like flow, when you just even you lose yourself in it, because it just feels so good. You lose the timing and everything. You are in it, and it is in you. There is that you merge with all that is in that moment when you are in flow.
I love
And
that because I love dancing and I let my body move the way it wants to move to the music. Um, I want to post up this one because I thought this was important to address and see what you would like to say on this. Margaret says she's always believed in God and lately she's been having some doubts. So what you're saying, what I hear you saying is that, again, turning internally and looking within with regards to this. Would that be what you would recommend, or how would you
I
like to
think
address that?
it's a good space to be in, to have your doubts with God. It's a good space to be in, to be angry with God. It's a good space to embrace whatever that comes through with God, because we have not allowed ourselves to just be angry with God and say, God, what the hell is this? Because as much as we always say, I want God to be here with me, it's that times when you feel like you're kidding me. If God was present, this wouldn't have happened, and it's okay, because it's our version of God that we have had in our mind. You understand? So it's okay for us to be angry with that version of God and just say, this is nonsense. I'm not going to take this, God, whatever, whatever. But when you do it, again, I feel like when you do it, you are allowing whatever that you've held about God to come through and sort of release it, right? And at that moment when that is happening, it's kind of like, God, show me who you are. I want to know who you are, because that doubt or that separation, this is for me, even when you talk about grief, we feel it mostly when someone has passed on. That's when we allow ourselves to grieve, like, because it's something that is beyond us. And then because there's different levels of grief. When I was going through divorce, there was a part of me that was grieving this marriage, but I felt grief for a long time, even when I was a child. I was going around and I was looking at everyone. I felt like we are lost, and I felt like something is missing. And I feel like grief is something that sort of immediately gets activated when we come here, because it's that separation that it's happening, like when we come to this physical body and all that. It's just a grief because we are not that freedom that we are used to be, and we're trying to understand life from what we are being dished, right? So it's kind of like, I don't understand this, so there is this grief that is happening. And then there are times when you're going through things and things are happening the way they're happening, and it's kind of like, who the hell is even God? And why would God allow this to happen? And when you allow yourself to feel those things and question that God, it's opening a space to say, if God is real, I want to know who God is. It's kind of like you're opening the expansion of even realizing yourself, because even when you talk about grief or whatever that we talk about, it's just because God is us. It's not like it's someone who's out there, and you realize that the discordance that we have with ourselves is the discordance that we have with God. The separation that we have with ourselves is the separation that we have with God. Even because one thing that I realized when I was going through my journey, there were times when I was just like so flipping attached to the whole thing of, I want my guys, I want to connect to them, I want to talk to them. And at some point I asked myself, but why? Why do I want them out there? Am I trying to run away from something? So I would come back and say, okay, fine. What am I running away from? And I'd realize that, okay, there is a lot of things that is going on here. So for me, it's like, which is what we do. I mean, that's what I perceived from the religion perspective, that at times when things happen, we just run to church, not because we don't want to deal with our stories. And talking about this, I was showing this family, it's my relatives, but it's sort of like kept coming in a dream many times. It kept coming in a dream many times until I spoke to the man, because the man had issues with alcohol, and the father was a pastor. The man had issues with alcohol abuse to the woman and all that, and now the children are doing the same thing, and now he's like, these children, da, 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 da. So when I tapped into this, I don't even know why I was sent to this, but I get to learn what I get to learn. There was just so much pain and sadness that was really deep rooted in the whole ancestral lineage. And when I asked the man to say, I understand your father was a pastor, but who was he before he became a pastor? And he said he was drinking as well and all that. So you realize he didn't solve the problem. He ran to church, and he managed to go through it because of the whole fear, and like, because it comes with the responsibility to be a pastor, a leader of people, and the whole fear of the heaven hell thing. So I guess he also didn't live his life the way he was meant to live, but he managed to sort of like create this idea or identity that people wanted to see. And there was a lot that was going on, a lot that was hidden, which is now has been passed on to the great grandchildren and all that. So this is why I had to ask myself, what am I running from? And I realized that the whole thing is like, it's gonna help me feel good, and I'm not gonna deal with this thing, which didn't really help, because when I was in meditation, I could leave my body, like I would be aware that I'm getting out from this corner and I'll travel and it would be nice and all that. But then I come back. At first, it was exciting, but when I come back, I'll get depressed. Like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here.
Nothing changed.
But at the end, I realized that the journey that I was being taken through, it was just to realize that without being in my body and connected to my body and embracing all that is happening, I am it's just going to be like a 40 minutes meditation or an hour meditation. It's not going to shift anything here until I get to be comfortable and see all these aspects that at times, like this that I was sitting here, and there was this voice that came to say, how you're just tiring and all that. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. Why? So like it kept throwing a few voices and all that. And I just allowed it. And then at the end, I just got this download of the question that I was asking for some time. So if I pushed away these little voices and all that, I would have blocked even this message, and that was a response to the question that I was asking. But I allowed whatever that was to throw a tantrum and then say what it says and just say, I'm listening to you, I hear you, I love you. And then it opened the door for the message that I truly wanted. But at the end of the day, all this was important to be heard as well. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So
So,
the
no,
whole thing about not believing in God, it's perfect. Just embrace it, and through it, ask God to show itself.
beautiful. I love that. Um, Tell us a little bit about Shed the Mask before we wind up so that people know about it. It is coming up this Monday. The link has been in the comments, you guys. You can actually go into Facebook if you're a Facebook follower and type in Shed, and Shed the Mask Challenge will actually pop up. And I know we've got one coming up this Monday, and then you're running it ideally every month. So tell us a little bit about the Mask Challenge, please.
Yeah, this share the mask. Like I said, I help people to share the mask so that they can embody their authentic selves and live the life that they desire, create their soul's deepest desires. Because one of the things that I was find out why people do not live the life they want is because they are not true to themselves. And shed the mask is we go through life wearing different masks. Sometimes it's because of the life experiences. Sometimes it's just what we were taught. As you know that as we when we were children, we've got those authorities, which is our parents, right? So if for your parents, for you to be a good boy or good girl, it's for you to just say yes and approve of whatever that is being done, then you are this amazing child. Then you're just gonna wear this self-approval mask where you just go around looking for people to say yes to, and you always smiling, but yet within you like they don't flip and understand because they don't see me, they don't listen to me. It's just building in there. But when you go out there, it's kind of like, oh, she's just sort of swish person, because you're allowing everyone to do what they do.
Yeah.
As long as they approve you. Where are you coming from with this? So there is just that we're dealing with all those different masks, which is the self-approval mask, the intellect mask, the rescuer mask, and then the victim mask, which I believe a lot of us we have worn at some point in time, where it felt great that you can talk about your issues and it's like, oh, poor you, and somehow because everything it serves a purpose. I was working with this other amazing man on wheelchairs, and I asked him, what would happen if you just get to walk? And he said, it'll be lovely, but a part of me is just afraid because of the benefits that comes with being in a wheelchair. And we don't admit it, but
Wow.
everything that we hold into, it serves somehow something within us. So we hold into it even though we don't want it because there is something that we get in from those poor use and all that. And there is also barriers, like different barriers, which is like, as I mentioned, attachment to labels, titles, and all that, which is at times it's kind of like, I've been married for 20 years and yet you feel miserable. At times it's kind of like, I'm a CEO, I've got these degrees and all that, yet you got them. The motivation behind getting those degrees might have been, I want people to know or to have an identity or something because you didn't feel worthy as a child, kind of like I'll prove them wrong, whatever. So it's your way of kind of like, I'm just very intelligent. You're not willing to have any conversation on an emotional level. It's kind of like everything's like analysis, 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 and anything that it's got to do with emotions, because you don't want to go to that pain that you had when you're growing up, you just shut it off. And the way you do it is to shut other people off by making them feel like they are not intelligent. So there's just a lot of things, the journey that I just
Mm.
take through to realize the barriers and to also be aware of whether you are really who you are, or you are who they taught you to be, or who you think you should be, because there's a difference, right? Like when I was growing up, and then I felt like I was always like an outspoken and all that, and then it's kind of like there was kind of like, I'm gonna prove them wrong too. And accountant, for me, I just love the work. I love the word accountant, and I understand it's something that I did in past life. but I went with it, and it also had this thing. Oh, you're an accountant? Yeah, okay. At which company? And when you say the name, it kind of like had that thing, you know. So I just did it, but I was not myself. You can imagine just me there with papers and all that. It's not expansive, right? It's not for me. And I still remember the other time when the company was downsizing, and the man who was there to help us go through the process asked me, "Are you really sure this job is for you?" You know, but so you get to be aware. Why did I choose this? Was it to make mommy happy that I get to be a doctor, or was it to, that kind of thing? So we just go through so many things where you get to kind of like have a mirror and see yourself where you are wearing all this. I was giving Sandra an example the other day that there was a time when I was going through some transformation, and then I was just like, sort of like I felt stuck. But when I connected with my team to find out what is going on, they just gave me this picture where I've taken off this mask and I'm busy analyzing it, looking at this mask. At times we look at this problem that happened, it's kind of like, I'm over this shit. Now I'm a strong person. Da, 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 da. And there is something else that you get to remove here so that now you can fully embrace and live the life that you want. Trust me, I had to deal with that aspect that kind of like, instead of moving on and creating my life the way I desire, there was part of, yes, I'm strong, look at what I conquered, and all that and all that. Okay, good. You did well. But now, what is it that you want to create? You know? So this brings us to even that masculine and feminine thing, because this is where actually where I wanted to talk about, to say, even when you talk about like pleasure, our soul message, purpose, money, we go back to the womb, we go back to that sexual energy, we go back to that creation space. This is why I love to talk about making love, because when you talk about making love, even in our real life, we make love, it feels good, and then we fall pregnant, we go through those whatever pains where we get to see ourselves differently from the pregnancy. And for us to give birth, we have this labor pains where it's kind of like, I'm not gonna do this shit again. But at the end of the day, again, there's this outcome that you're waiting for of having this child, right? You are excited when you have it. And for me, that really explains what life is all about. So I
Mm,
bring in the joyful, pleasurable, orgasmic romance in it when you talk about self-love, when you talk about creation and all that. Because even for you to give birth to something in your physical reality, you go through those growing pains of fully aligning your heart, mind, and body, and feeling safe to even be here on earth, and also connecting with all that you are. Because even when you talk about, like, this is what I talk about when I say we are one with all that is, it's not, it's because we are moving from the separation consciousness that we have agreed to. It's like really being that God in creation and really embodying all of it, and dancing with all that you are creating throughout all levels of creation. Yeah.
beautiful. So I've already signed up. I suggest you guys sign up. It's Shed the Mask Challenge. I'll just put the name up there again. You'll be able to find it if you go on the social media platforms. I've also, in the comments, put in the Instagram, Gail's Instagram. And yeah, join us. Join us on this one. And if not this one, the next one. And see who you really are. Shed your mask.
Yeah, and I'm excited. I'm just laughing. I'm just seeing this comment from Margaret here to say, I believe in a higher power. I do feel angry at God, and just that the separation that we are in, and it's part of it's because even when you talk about growth or evolution, it's not like it's linear or something like that. It's, it happens the way it happens. And I know there was a time when I was also comfortable with saying universe, higher power, whatever, when I was um transitioning from the whole God, as in from the religion thing, to now the God that I am like, okay, fine, I'm comfortable with God, but I had to heal. And there was a time when I was not okay with the word God, so wherever that you are at, it's just all a beautiful space, and it's all perfect in its own imperfection. It's all beautiful in all its messiness. It's just to embrace it and not make it wrong, and allow it to guide you into your next level of expansion, but just open your heart to it all.
Beautiful. How can people find you?
Um, Gao Motsemme.com, just as it's written here, .com. there I am, Gao Motsemme on Facebook. Gao Motsemme, I started doing the whole thing on TikTok lately. On Instagram, on Facebook, it's all Gao Motsemme. Wherever that you're searching, you'll just find me there. Um, and even like for instance about this challenge, even when you go to my page in this backdrop, there is so many things there. Even there's a gift that I'm giving away. Release old memories and open your heart to love. That's the process that I used when I was going through my separation with my children, because that time when I felt like my children betrayed me, I was like, I was not sure if I'm gonna be able to really parent them in this lifetime. And I also used it when I was going through the divorce. Actually, it's funny because even with this process, because at times before even the divorce happens, there are times when you realize that this is not gonna lead anywhere. So I would use the same PDF that I gave, where I'll just write down to say what I'll miss about you. It's kind of like there's a part of me that was sort of like embracing that this thing is not gonna work out, but I would always write down the things that I embrace and love and that I'll miss about my ex-husband. And we're still together. So when we were divorcing and I came across this paper that I wrote for him, I was just like, oh, this is just beautiful. And I believe that's what helped me to also anchor in love, because it's easy to hate, because I believe that hate pain is not as much as the love pain, in the sense that when you love, you are also dissolving all the walls that you've built in the past. So it opens you into a bigger version of love, which is like really pure divine love, which we don't embrace, because love, we've put it in this whole pheromones thing where it's kind of like, but when you bring in the pure divine love, it's just one of the most amazing. I don't even know, I've got no description for it except just to feel the whole expansiveness of it, the beauty of it and all that. Yeah.
Beautiful. Anchor in love, everybody. Shed the mask. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing yourself and this beautiful awareness with everybody, because I think the world is so ready to shed the mask.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Thank you so much. It was beautiful being here and interacting with you. Amazing, magnificent, awesome, awesome, awesome God in human form, right?
Thank you. Okay, everybody. Thanks. Bye.
Bye bye.